Before we start today's video, I wanted to show you these. These arrived yesterday. Well, I say arrived, I actually went to the post office and picked them up myself, but I figured I'd just use arrive even though I could have just said went and picked up. Hashtag I'm a genius. I'm very happy with them, they fit perfectly and will keep my tentacles very warm in the winter months. Link to the store below. Now the subject of today's video is something that has taken mainstream media by storm. It concerns the pop artist Taylor Swift, who is incredibly successful, congratulations, but has always remained aloof when it comes to her political leaning. This has, over the years, caused concern, not with her fans, but with mainstream media, and then people going out of their way to attack her because she didn't identify as a feminist. But her brand has rarely taken a hit, and I say that because she's usually garnered sympathy when people like Kanye West have done ridiculous things like upstage her at an awards ceremony believing the award should have gone to Beyoncé. Taylor is of course more famous for her relationship failings than she is for her political views, so when she finally put out an Instagram post indicating what her leaning was and the reasons for it, there has been quite an interesting reception to it. Now I personally don't care who she votes for. I'm sure she has her reasons and she will explain them in this. Well, the Instagram post we're going to go through in a moment, and a few articles giving a perspective, a wide range of views, praise and criticism, because I think it's right to give it air. I'm writing this post about the upcoming midterm elections on November 6th, something that has garnered huge attention, many believing that Reds will sweep the board because of how successful Trump has been so far, and how low the Democrats have descended. I'm not going to be drawn in on the Kavanaugh shit, in which I will be voting in the state of Tennessee. In the past, I've been reluctant to publicly voice my political opinions, but due to several events in my life, I wonder if some of those include the bullying you received because you wouldn't tell anyone which way you voted. Oh, and the fact you didn't align yourself with certain candidates. And in the world in the past 2 years, I feel very differently about that now. I have always had and always will cast my vote based on which candidate will protect and fight for the human rights I believe we all deserve in this country. I believe in the fight for LGBTQ rights, and that any form of discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender is wrong. You're right. So hopefully the candidate you select in the district you vote in is the right candidate, regardless of Republican or Democrat party alignment. I believe that the systemic racism we still see in this country towards people of colour is terrifying, sickening and prevalent. Citation, I cannot vote for someone who will not be willing to fight for dignity for all Americans, no matter their skin colour, gender or who they love. This sounds eerily familiar. It has all the markings of saying yes, I am against any kind of discrimination, but it has an air of feminism about it, which actually would exclude a rather large block of voters, who themselves were alienated at the presidential election enough that switched from being what could be considered core Democrat voters to Republican because there wasn't a reasonable party to go with, and a protest vote should shake you, not you Taylor Swift, the Democrats. It failed miserably, and I've seen enough to know that they have yet to learn their lesson. For God's sake, they were trying to fuck around with Brett Kavanaugh. I'm going to be drawn in on this now, fuck it. It's clear they were just doing it to stall so the seat would remain empty for 2020, but they don't have a viable candidate for 2020, so they were never going to win anyway. And since an ex-boyfriend of Blasey Ford has come out and said, yeah, no, and all the, stuff has disappeared. Back to Tay Tay though. Running for Senate in the state of Tennessee is a woman named Marsha Blackburn. As much as I have in the past and would like to continue voting for women in office, I cannot support Marsha Blackburn. Her voting record in Congress appalls and terrifies me. I'm not going to make excuses for Marsha Blackburn, but I do have a clip that I got from Secular Talk's channel, where she gave a reason why she didn't support equal pay laws. Now this is actually something I recall hearing, before I play the clip, on TV show The West Wing, where there was a female character who was a part of a party, and she supported certain things where you wouldn't have to have those laws in place that ensured women were treated equal. It sounds kind of ludicrous now that I say it, but at the same time I kind of get it. The whole concept of not having to enshrine something in law to ensure equality is attained. But at the same time, I understand that the only way you're going to get equality is by forcing it. I know I sounded bitter when I said that. I do apologise. Now to the clip in question, I will play it now.
I think that more important than that, it is making certain that women are recognized by those companies. You know, I've always said I didn't want it to be given a job because I was a female. I wanted it because I was the most well-qualified person for the job. And making certain that companies are going to move forward in that vein, that is what women want.
What about you?
They don't want the decisions made in Washington. They want to be able to have the power and the control and the ability to make those decisions.
Very long-winded. I will link it in the description for anyone that is interested. Now back to Tay Tay. She voted against the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which attempts to protect women from domestic violence, stalking and rape. And again we have a clip where the in question Marsha Blackburn will explain why she voted against it. She does give a reason, yet again it's long-winded. I'm not going to say whether I support her answer or not. I think it should speak for itself.
To do.
I want to ask you about a vote that happened last week. The House passed the Violence Against Women Act.
Right.
You were an original supporter of it. You put out a statement in May in support of it, said you must continue to make every effort to ensure that funding is available to help these victims of violence, and then you voted against it. Why?
Right, the Senate version. I voted for all of the two House versions that we had, the replacement amendment. Yeah, and the Senate version, you know, what you do is begin to dilute the money that needs to go into these sexual assault centers, domestic abuse centers, our child advocacy centers. All of those I've helped to start here in my area in Tennessee. And when you start to make this about other things, and it becomes an Against Violence Act and not a targeted, focused act that is there to address the issue of violence against women that chucked for far too long. That is something that you couldn't talk about.
She believes businesses have a right to refuse service to gay couples. They do. That's not disgusting. People should have the right to refuse service to anyone for whatever reason they want, unless they are a publicly owned institute, and therefore laws federally govern what they do as its state. Your country confuses me. In any case, a privately owned business can do whatever it wants, because it makes up its own rules. If a company does not want to serve someone because they are gay, they can. You don't have to agree with it. I don't agree with it, because I like money. I will literally serve anyone if I ever worked in retail, because I like a £1 note. Donate to my Patreon. She also believes they should not have the right to marry. I don't care about marriage. I really don't. It is an antiquated notion to be against it, because if any group is allowed to marry, everyone should be allowed to. I just don't care about it. So yeah, not great. These are not my Tennessee values, but they are the values of your state, where she is currently 8 points up at the moment in opinion polls. You are somebody that has spent a lot of time in very Democrat-riddled areas, and I say riddled charitably. I don't mean it to be offensive, but they are very metropolitan areas, heavily, densely Democrat. Some areas that oppose the Electoral College and not representing the entire country, just the cities, which would, in some places, completely wipe out representation, fair representation. Cough, Illinois, cough. Even at states level it doesn't work, I guess. Your Tennessee values are no longer Tennessee values in their truest form, because your state, for the most part, a Republican state. Now yes, in Nashville and Memphis, Democrats do quite well, but as a state, it is considered a Republican safe state. I'm assuming you're from Memphis or Nashville, because of your political leaning being what it is. I will be voting for Phil Bredesen for Senate and Jim Cooper for House of Representatives. Please educate yourself on the candidates running in your state and vote based on who you most closely represents your values. For a lot of us, we may never find a candidate or party with whom we agree 100% on every issue. If you do, you're a sycophant. I think you are anyway. And I don't mean that as an insult, but I find those that absolutely agree with their candidate, even in MPs in my country, they usually just believe blindly. They're the kind that refuse to consider a dissenting opinion. So many intelligent, thoughtful, and self-possessed people have turned 18 in the past 2 years, and now have the right and privilege to make their vote count. But first you need to register and blah blah blah, happy voting. I remember seeing a video, and I know bullshit covered it, where a bunch of celebrities yet again talked about voting in the midterms and used sexual innuendo to talk about their first time, but voting obviously. And in the middle of it was David Hogg. It was bad enough seeing Chris Evans in it, but David Hogg? The high school dropout? Dear God. Now, the fallout from this has been that there have been many different news sources talking about how it's been perceived, with The Guardian going in the direction of fury and praise is what this has caused. Endorsements from Democrats, but criticism from white supremacists, right-wing fans, and mainstream Republicans. The NME, the indie music magazine, have decided to say the alt-right are furious that Taylor Swift is voting Democrat. I'm not even sure the alt-right know who she is. Fox News guests have said they want Taylor Swift to shut up, but love Kanye's MAGA embrace. I actually think Taylor Swift should speak up more often about her politics, because it adds fuel to a fire which makes things more interesting for me. Easier to destroy a world that's already tearing itself apart over Taylor Swift. And Kanye's MAGA hat is hilarious. It's incredibly funny watching someone in an interview demand he take his hat off. I'll play the clip of that now as well.
Yes, I would love it, Kanye, if you would not wear that hat. It would make me and a lot of other people feel better. In fact, why don't we say, please take off the hat, Kanye? How's that?
It's not good.
Well, then I won't do it. Because you have a right to wear it. But
exactly. First Amendment, baby!
And then you've got CNN, who have gone with, it's Taylor Swift versus Kanye West again. It's not a competition. Kanye West has been very vocal about his political support. For years, Taylor Swift has only just come out with her support. I would assume maybe her political view has always been like this, but she's kept it quiet to focus on protecting her brand. But now she feels comfortable. Now she feels safe. She can just talk and be honest. This does, of course, leave open the door that she may now be pressured into being more vocal about other elements of things I think if she speaks about, it's going to be wrong. But I'm open to being proven wrong, and I will be very happy if I am. All in all, the perception of this has been quite fascinating, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this continues as the fallout increases, which is amazing. I even have to use the word fallout. There are so many sources on this. It is quite astonishing. It's Taylor Swift. I know she's a big celebrity, huge pop star. Wasn't she a country star? Maybe that's why she was so popular back in the day. Oh god, I say back in the... Can someone tell me how many of her songs aren't about failed relationships? I'm curious. I don't know why I'm curious though. Anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely Tuesday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your ass.
Imagine my shock